Boom. What's up, Charles?
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay.
Alrighty. Yeah, this thing was
I,
just giving
I
me.
yeah, that headpiece you get really sounds good though, man. I think I'm gonna get me one of those, and it looks really professional.
Well, tonight I don't have it, so I'm going off of the missus got me a new Mac Mini.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's what I have. I have that. That's my main computer is a Mac Mini, and I love it.
Yep.
I love
So
it. I love it. Awesome, awesome. I wanted to play that beginning because apparently 2 days ago was the big Star Wars day. May the fourth be with you. Like I told you guys, I'm not a Star Wars fan, so I
mhm.
should have played that 2 days ago. So I figured, what the heck, better late than never. So there you go, your little Star Wars intro with Harry Kim riding on a little carnival ride. Yoda. What's up, Charles? What's up, Charles? Aloha Friday, everybody.
Well, I'm gonna say something that today was a very emotional day, but I can't give too much details because of the, the privacy. But all I know is today we had a special arrival of an individual, and it was emotional just to see that casket come off, come off the plane. We did the full honor guard today, and I tell you, bro, first time I catch myself crying on the runway, just looking at it, I was in awe. It was beautiful. The plane came in. Thank you to the Department of Transportation. Thank you to ARF. They put a big water halo. They shot the two cannons from both sides to spray the plane, and
Hmm.
it was just simply amazing. And it was an emotional day for me. I mean, I came home, I still was crying in the car. I just thinking to myself, wow, we sacrificed so much for our freedoms, but I wish there's a way we can sacrifice, but at the same time, come home safely.
Yeah,
Maybe that's too much to ask for. I don't know. Whew.
yeah. Well, thank you for sharing, man. Yeah, that's always emotional.
Yeah,
Always very emotional, and our hearts go out to the family. Memorial Day coming up
yep,
next month.
yeah,
No, this month. I'm sorry, at the end of the month. So uh, we probably do something special for Memorial Day.
yeah.
I just want to share some good news. Number one, I'm wearing my UH shirt because UH is going to the big show tomorrow. They're gonna play Long Beach again for their defending champions. They're gonna try to defend their championship against Long Beach in a neutral arena, and that is tomorrow. It's going to be awesome, awesome. And the bigger news for Kauai is the Waimea High School Menehune baseball team just won their game not long ago on Oahu in the semifinals, and they're going to go to the Hawaii State Baseball Championship tomorrow. So congratulations to the Waimea Menehune baseball team. Proud of those guys, and we'll be rooting for them tomorrow to bring home the gold, man. Some solid good news.
Yes,
Solid good
yes.
news.
Awesome, awesome. Well,
So tonight, oh, go
I,
ahead, go ahead.
I just want to share that for the dedication and work that well, I, this goes out to the entire team. But I was awarded this from the, I don't know if it's from the White House, but a representative actually flew in and came and showed up at my office and gave me this honor. So I just want to say thank you to the members of the security detail at the Lihui Airport. This is from, and it's signed. I mean, it doesn't look like President Biden's name, but it's from the White House. I want to say thank you, and here it is: candy,
I tell
popcorn,
you,
Snickers. Thank you very much. I just had to zing it in there for my brother Mel.
Snickers candy pops. Sorry, sorry. I say our guest is Charlie. When you try to log on, did it ask you for a? Oh, Did it ask you for a password and you was trying to log
No,
on tonight?
no, no, it doesn't.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I'm not sure why our guest is having a, but we'll. I got to do this because you can have all the Snickers you like, Charles.
Yes.
This right here, homemade.
Yeah.
This is slices of banana,
Yeah.
thinly sliced bananas
Dipped in
with.
chocolate.
Wait. Before we dip them in chocolate, there's peanut butter in between the two slices, and
Okay.
then she dips it in her own chocolate.
Yeah.
There's a hard shell.
Mmm.
This, oh, brother, and it's healthy. It's dark chocolate. It's peanut butter and bananas.
Okay.
Well,
Well, I got something similar to that. Okay. Because you see this, right?
yeah,
And you see this, right?
yeah.
So if I put one on top and one on the bottom and I put them in between, look what I get, bro. Something similar.
Oh my God.
Eee, doggy.
Yeah, while we're waiting for our guest, I'd like to remind you guys tomorrow morning. All right, all right. He made it on. He's in the green room.
Hey,
He's in
we
the
want to
green
send
room.
also a shout out to our lovely and talented prosecuting attorney. I just saw her, Becky Voigt Like. She's on
Oh,
with us
oh,
tonight. So
that's my
thank you for joining
boss.
us.
Now I
Yeah.
gotta be nice. Now I gotta be nice.
Oh, see,
Anyway,
bring some of those tomorrow morning. You got it. You got it.
ain't gonna have no more left, boss. Also, tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock. I mentioned this. I invited all of you. I posted Troy Barboza Law Enforcement Torch Run benefiting the Special Olympics. 7 o'clock, guys. If you're on Kauai, please come down. And it's a Troy Barboza Law Enforcement Torch Run, but this cowboy is going to be walking. So please, if you can, 7 o'clock registration. Come, $30. You get a nice shirt. I should have worn my shirt tonight. But yeah, if you can, join us tomorrow, 7 o'clock. And then tomorrow at 10 o'clock a.m., Kai Haley will be making his press conference. He has an announcement to make. Wonder what that could be. That'll be at 10 o'clock a.m. And we will have it streaming on my page as well. So it's on my post. Oh, here it is. Here it is. See my wife. She's so good. That's the shirt. This is the kind dry fit too. So you get this shirt. That's the back. This is the front. Beautiful print. I will be wearing this tomorrow, 7 o'clock, Vidina Stadium. Please join us if you can. All right, let's bring on the Honorable Judge Richard Bissen. Aloha,
Hey,
Judge.
hey, aloha, my kako. I'm trying to. Sorry, it took me a while to get on this, and I'm trying to have a quiet space in my house. There's a gathering going outside, but I'm glad I'm here with you guys.
We can hear you perfectly fine. We can see you. Looks like your Wi-Fi is solid. I appreciate you coming on, Judge. I appreciate you coming on. This show has been going on for over 2 years now, and we like to call ourselves non-political. But being that this next election statewide is going to be a very important election, um, I decided that we would, for anyone that wants to come on and share their platform, share and we'll get into that a little later. They're welcome to. Just let me know. Let let Charlie know, and we'll hook you up. We'll get you guys on because I think it's important that the people get to know the candidates personally before they get into that little booth, or now you do them at home. So thank you for spending some time with us tonight. Also want to thank Pono Asano, a dear friend of mine, a brother to me, who we've known each other for a long time, and who introduced me to. This is the first time we've met, Judge, but he shared with me about you, and they're already asking questions about affordable housing plans. We'll get to that, but I found out when I spoke to Charlie that you and Charlie have a connection as well.
That
So
is correct. I'll let Charlie tell his version, then I'll correct it after. I'm just kidding. Of course, yes. Being on Maui, we've worked in our careers together. That's how we've met.
Well,
Uh,
I will say, Mel, this esteemed guest that we have on with tonight is one of a kind, and I'm gonna let him share all his accomplishments with the many viewers. In fact, we have a lot of viewers on today, a lot, and I wanted to share because he very rarely, and I'll just put it as plainly as it can be, he very rarely toots his horn, and what he's doing now, I want him to toot his horn really loud. But for the record, how we're related is, as many of you know, I lost a brother to COVID, and that brother was adopted at birth, and the Bissen family adopted him. So when he showed me the paperwork, the first person I reached out to was Ricky, and I said, "Hey, Rick, you know um, so and so," and he said, "Yeah, why?" He says, "Bro, I just got some papers from him, and apparently he's my brother. My mom had given him up for adoption, and your uncle, yeah, the Richard's dad's brother, family adopted my brother, and the rest was history." So that's how we have a
I
deep
tell you,
connection there.
what a small world, and it's just all connecting. So, Judge, why don't we? I'm going to give you the screen, and you can share a little bit about yourself. I know it's first time in politics for you. It is
Yeah.
okay, as Charlie said, to toot your own horn because there's a lot of people on. This will be viewed by a lot of people for the next several months. So take this opportunity to introduce yourself, and then we'll have the discussion about the platform and what your plans are for Maui.
Well, mahalo and aloha mai kako. Mahalo no kahui ana mai. Thank you folks for joining tonight. I did want to add one more thing to Charlie. He, as a young officer on Maui with the Maui Police Department, I was a young deputy prosecutor. We had a chance to work a few times, cases, and that's also, and then we have a couple other connections that we've had over the years. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you also to both of you as well as Pono for arranging this for tonight. So I just want you to know a couple of things. I'm a simple Maui boy. I grew up in a working class family. I've worked 34 years and 8 months, or rounded up to 35 years in public service. I'm a I'm a product of St. Anthony grade school and high school. I guess in starting to talk, I should first mention my parents, Richard and Edna. My dad, whose oldest brother, Uncle Tommy, or we call him Uncle Boy, is the one who adopted my cousin Eddie, Charlie's brother, and my cousin who, yeah, we were all very close to him here on Maui, even though he lived on the East Coast. I think, yeah, so my dad grew up in a family of five brothers and five sisters in Paia, Maui. His mother was from Keanai, and my mom is the second oldest of nine. She had four brothers and four sisters, and she grew up in Pihana and the fishing village and Taro village of Pahakuloa. And so both my parents come from opposite ends of Maui. For those of you familiar with Maui, and of course, like all Maui people, they met in Japan when they were both in the military. My mom was a Women's Army Corps WAC. My dad was a Sergeant First Class in the U.S. Army. They met there. Had my three older sisters, myself, and the youngest. And after living on a couple of military bases, we moved home to Maui. I got enrolled in St. Anthony. And I got to mention a little bit about this. So I was fortunate. I skipped the third grade, and I ended up being with the class ahead of me, and graduated from St. Anthony in 1979. I guess my first round of my only time at elections is I ran for student body president, and I was elected, and so I guess that was my I guess I'm 1 for 1 right now, and that experience was a very positive experience. I was because I skipped. I was a 16-year-old senior um, until just a couple months before graduation. But something happens to a young person when their parents put them in a school like I attended. My three sisters attended Lehikai and Baldwin. Um, but when you're the only one that the family sort of puts their sacrifice and their hard-earned money to send you to a private school, there's no pressure really. It's just an awareness that you're being given an opportunity, and you need to make the best of that opportunity. And that's what I tried to do. And then likewise, I ended up attending Santa Clara University, again on the salary of my dad, who was a heavy equipment operator after retiring from 24 years in the United States Army. He was in the Korean War, 3 tours in Vietnam, 2 Bronze Stars, the Purple Heart. My hero, really. And so both he and my mom, raised us. She was worked at a restaurant, the Pioneer Inn in Lahaina, and again, could only afford to send one of us to St. Anthony and then later Santa Clara. I graduated with a political science degree. Then I applied and was accepted into law school. I graduated from the University of Hawaii Law School in 1986. I was president of the Hawaiian Club in college, president of the Hawaiian Club in law school, and just maintained, I guess, leadership opportunities that came around. Eventually, I came back to Maui. I clerked for a judge for 1 year, Judge Richard Como, and then I became a deputy prosecutor in 1987. And I did that for about 15 years total. In between that time, for a brief time, I went into private practice with two former prosecutors and friends of mine, Joe Cardoza and Dave Fukuoka. We had the law firm of Fukuoka, Bissen, and Cardoza, Fukuoka, and Bissen. I returned to the prosecutor's office, so I was the county prosecutor under then Mayor Lingo and then under Mayor Kimoapana. So I was appointed under two different mayors at different administrations. And then in 2003, I moved my family to Oahu, and I became the first deputy attorney general under Attorney General Mark Bennett. I did that for a couple of years. Governor Lingo asked me to take over the Department of Public Safety. Let me back up. When I was at the first deputy at the AG's office, I was responsible for 21 divisions and 150 attorneys, and of course, our staff. Our staff with our Child Sports Enforcement Agency was about 700 people. But I just want to say, supervising 150 attorneys is like supervising 300 like regular people. Just to put that in perspective. But there were 21 divisions that my job was to try to divert whatever I could away from the attorney general if I could handle it at my level. And those times that they had to go to him, of course. And then I ended up becoming the director of the Department of Public Safety. It was anywhere from 23 to 2,500 employees. At that time, that was about twice the size of the mayor's staff here in Maui in 2004, 2005. I had 8 facilities. I had 4,000 inmates that we were responsible for, in addition to our employees, their safety and welfare, and also the sheriff's department. I learned a great deal also during that time, leading that group. I got the most out of that. Uh, an opening brand new judge's position opened up on Maui in 2005. I applied and I was appointed and confirmed by the Senate, the Hawaii State Senate. And for my career of 16 years and 8 months, nearly 17 years, I was a domestic violence judge here on Maui. I also, before joining the bench, I had some other experiences. In 1999, I was the Distinguished Citizen of the Year, given to me by the Men's March Against Violence for the work we did with domestic violence work on Maui, our prosecutors, and working with our police department here. In 2000, I was one of the founding members of our Maui Drug Court program as the prosecutor for the county. And then in 2005, I took the bench. So I became the domestic violence judge, just kind of ironically that was my assignment for my entire career. I also started the mental health court in 2013 on Maui, which I maintained until I retired last December 2021. I was the drug court judge. Again, that came full circle as well. which is why I mentioned the '99 award and the 2000. What happened in 2000? The In 2001, I was selected as the Attorney of the Year for our county, Maui, by the Maui County Bar Association. I also received the Alumnus of the Year, and I was installed into the Hall of Fame at St. Anthony High School for community service. In 2013, I was selected Alumnus of the Year for my law school, William S. Richardson in Oahu, and I was the first Neighbor Island um, alumnus to have received that award. And I am currently the Jurist of the Year for the state of Hawaii, which I received that award in October for the work we did in dealing with the pandemic here on Maui. And one of the reasons I think also was being the first circuit to restart jury trials, in-person jury trials. And I mentioned those things for people who've never met me, don't know me, to know that I did not apply for any of those awards that were received. Those were all other people nominated me, and I found out about it when I was getting the award. And I was very grateful and humbled by people who felt that way, including being the current Jurist of the Year. Even though I got the award in October, I retired in December. So I think I don't have to give up my crown until September, October of next year. But I was very, very grateful for those opportunities to lead groups, to lead people. I should mention one other leadership opportunity when I was in college. I graduated from the United States Marine Corps Platoon Leaders class, which was in 1980 and 1982 during the summers. It was 12 weeks total. Graduated as an honor man, which is the top 5 in the platoon in both of the 2 summers that I attended those classes. And I only point that out. I tore my ACL ligament in a flag football game about a month after I got to school after getting out of Quantico, and I could not pass the medical physical, and so my and graduation I was not able to be commissioned. But I just point out that the experience, the leadership experience from that, I guess similar to an ROTC, if you will, program was invaluable and told me a lot of lessons, taught me a lot of lessons about my limitations or what I thought were my limitations. And so I often rely on that experience in a lot of the situations that I've encountered. But I retired, as I said, in December, and I thought with the experience that I've gained over the years, I just recently turned 60, and I thought I was, I guess I'll say, old enough to have experience and young enough to have energy, and I think that's an important combination to have doing this kind of work. And so I had decided to put my hat in the ring. Um, my future does not depend on this job, but my grandchildren's future does. And so my wife and I have 3 adult daughters. We have 3 grandsons, 10, 7, and 1. And the 3 reasons I'm running are La'akea, Lalakea, Maluahi, and Kilinaya. And that's all the reasons I needed.
Awesome. Well, definitely, the resume speaks for itself. I want to thank you for your service, Judge. Charlie and I are former police officers. I work for the prosecutor's office now here in Kauai.
Right.
I'm also the president of the Friends of Kauai Drug Court. Very familiar with that program, a very successful program. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So after all of that, you retire, and
Yeah.
then you have this crazy idea that you want to run for mayor. Um, and I know you mentioned your grandchildren, but what was that? At what point, or what made you decide? And we want to get into some of your topics. A lot of people asking about affordable housing. Some people are saying you have an outstanding affordable housing plan. I'm dying to hear it. But at what point, what moment did you finally say, yes, I'm going to do it, and why?
Well, that's really a fair question. So, Mel, at the end of 2000, I had talked to my wife about retiring. As I think I mentioned, I have 34 years and 8 months in the retirement system or in public service. And so we talked about it. But if you'll remember, the state was going through, possible, cutbacks and maybe furloughs. And, money was very, very tight. And so a lot of people started leaving the judiciary and retiring. People would put in their time and their service for sure. So I obviously thought about it as well. And then, I spoke with the Chief Justice, Mark Rectenwall, and realized, you know, a lot of people were leaving. And so I did not want to leave under those circumstances. So I said to him that I would remain for another year. But I also, I can say this now, but I gave him a year's notice. I said, CJ, I don't know if people give 2 weeks or 2 months, but I'm going to give you 12 months notice that I'm going to be retiring at the end of 2021, whatever the climate was at the time, politically, financially, pandemic. And he was appreciative that I gave him that much notice. And like I said, I would have left in 2020. Um, I had I didn't think I had any more hills to climb. Gentlemen, I thought we'll enjoy our retirement. But then, I have three adult daughters. They may not like that I mentioned this. They're 28, 30, and 32. But you know, one of them, was able to get a home. Her husband's military, retired from the military, so he was able to qualify for a VA loan, and they were able to get themselves in a home. And I'm thinking to myself, if it's that hard, they both have good jobs. And then my two other daughters, one was away at the time, but she's now home. And I'm thinking, how are they gonna afford a home? And then of course I look at my grandchildren. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how's that gonna happen? And for those of us growing up here, we all know, you know, I joke about my kids. I said, I think they look at me and go, "Hey, Dad, how you doing today? You doing okay? You feeling all right?" Because something happened, right? People inherit the house, they get it next, and it's is that how we're gonna rely? Is that how we're gonna do it? Just hope to, inherit someplace from someone else, because that's how a lot of things happen. There's got to be a better way, and like I said, when I look at my grandsons, and obviously I love them very much, just like all of you love your families. I thought to myself, don't be selfish. I can take my experience, my leadership experience, put it in a box, put it on a shelf, and say, I did my time, I'm good. Or I can say, I should do something. A friend of mine brought up to me, Rick, we're not living in our grandparents' Maui. We're not even living in our parents' Maui. We're living in our Maui. And what I took that to mean was, we don't have anybody to blame about things if they don't go the way we'd like them to. I mean, we can look in the past and say, well, this was a bad policy, this was a bad leader, whatever you want to, complain about. But if you have the opportunity, if you have the skills, if you have the determination, the drive, the courage, then, strap it on and get in the ring and go see what you can do. When my grandkids look back later, I think we'll all be judged for our time here. We all will at some point. But when they look back and they say, Papa, in 2022, what did you do? Did you do anything, or did you just take your retirement and go relax? I want to be able to say I tried to do something. And for some reason, that means a lot to me right now, just thinking about what it would be like for them. So, pretty straightforward. No hidden agenda. Nothing to see here. What you see is what you get.
I wanna I wanna show you Howard Dykes this morning. This was on, and a friend of mine posted it. She took a picture. Friend of mine posted this Caranono and Casa Expensivo. This was the median cost of homes, and as you can see, the number one spot is your county, Lahaina, 5 million, followed by our county, Hanalei, at 2 million. Kapa'a, where I live, is further on down, is 1 million. Lihui is 936,000. My point is this: this is not affordable. This is not affordable, and I know there's many issues facing all counties, but the and let's just go straight to the housing issue,
Sure.
because I think that impacts, that is a problem that has a lot of collateral issues associated with it. So, what are your thoughts on housing and especially affordable housing?
Let me say that I recognize every 2 years or 4 years, whatever the cycle is, you hear the same topics mentioned. I've heard it my whole life growing up here on Maui: housing, jobs, tourism. Recently, we've added homelessness, and of course, the environment has always been there in one form or another. When we talk about housing, we don't use the word in our campaign. We don't use the word affordable housing because I think that's a misnomer, and you just pointed it out on the whiteboard, Mel. The There are only two prices on Maui: expensive and out of reach. That's the two prices on Maui. Anything else is I don't know how we can use that term. Now I understand that term is a term of art. It's used in formulas to determine the AMI and eligibility for people, uh, who are in a lottery or trying to get a particular. I get that part of it, but maybe there's something else we can call it because we shouldn't mislead people. If I tell you, hey, go to the store, go buy me an affordable gallon of milk, and you pay $12 for that milk, and you come home and you tell me, I bought the affordable. I said, why? Just because they put the label on it? That's what makes it that? Of course not. I think we're all smarter than that. We all see through that. So in our program, we call it Kama'aina housing. Kama'aina housing, our platform stems from the concept of Kama'aina prosperity. To have Kama'aina prosperity, we got to get our residents into homes because we all know wealth is built from the equity in your home. That's how my parents sent me to school and law school. If I mean, it's hard enough to make it here, but if we want our Kama'aina to be prosperous, we need to think seriously about how to get folks into homes. Now, in our Kama'aina housing program, we have three levels. The quickest way to do it, the middle, the medium, and the long term. Let me start with the long term, and I'll work back if that's okay. So in the long term, the first thing I believe is we need to have an inventory of lands. So here's what happens in housing, and I think this is true across the state, but I'm just speaking to Maui. The two issues that always come up, or at least that I've seen as an outsider. Now, I'm not a politician, never been in office, but I've been around government for a long time, including in cabinets. But you look at the two issues on housing. It's where do you build it and who do you sell it to, right? Where are you going to build this project and who are you going to sell these homes to? Those are the two things you get most pushback on. So when we come to where to build, you folks must say that it must come up in your show. You must think about it too. When you see a developer building somewhere and they find EV kupuna, or they have to stop the job because obviously they've disturbed an area, why are we still surprised by that? Why are we in this day and age thinking, oh my God, they found something over there? What do we think they were going to find? What do we think? I mean, most people can probably take a pretty educated guess. So what that does, though, not only disrespects that area or maybe the families of those remains, but what it does is it adds to the cost of this project because now you got to put a stop, maybe you got to reinter, maybe you got to do something else. But the point of it is, if we had an inventory of lands, and the way I see it is maybe three categories: areas with no mopilikia or there's not a conflict over where they are, and I think those places do exist, by the way. Because someone asked me one day, "Oh, are there such a place?" And then there's those places that we clearly know there's probably going to be, some disturbed areas, or some places would be disturbed if we're in there. And then maybe there's a middle ground, the ones that people say, well, some agree, some disagree. Let's work that out. But shouldn't we be looking at those sites that maybe the community can agree on? That's number one. I realize that's a broad concept, but at least we could get started on that. The second thing is I think the county should put in the infrastructure. I think the county should put in the roads, the sewer, and the water. Now you ask me why. That's what they do in most municipalities. We're rare here. And I'll tell you why I think we're rare. I think something happened when the first developer came to at least Maui and said, hey, I'd like to build here. And somebody said to them, well, okay, but you got to put in the roads. And the person said, okay. Then the group looked at each other and said, hey, you said okay. How about a park? Can we get a park? All right. Okay, can we get a school? Can we get a shopping mall? I mean, the list goes on. So what happens? What happens after all that gets put in? What happens to the price of that home? That home back maybe in the 70s, 80s, you thought was going to be, maybe 80,000, 100,000, 150,000. Now all of a sudden, it's twice that, or at least a lot more. What did you think was going to happen? The person says to you, I thought you wanted me to put in the road and the park and the school and the mall. I put them all in. This is how much the price tag is now. So we're driving prices up by that model. Whereas I think if the county puts in the infrastructure, it becomes a private public partnership. We say to the builder, we want you to keep the cost as low as possible to build a home. Now, I think a builder, really, all they want to do is build. I bet you they don't want to have to hire consultants and lawyers and go in front of boards and commissions and council and beg for things. I bet you all they want to do is put nails in the boards and put up the house. But of course, they become, they got to go hire consultants and do other things. So my point of it is, we put in the infrastructure, they put in the home, and then I think as partners we can help determine the price point for these kama aina housing. The controversial part of my plan, and I've run it by a few people, so maybe the lawyers got to jump in on this one, but I think we should require a homeowner's exemption before you can purchase that home. Now, why is that important? This handles the second point of what I was saying: who to sell it to. It should be sold to people who are kama aina residents. So this will cut out the group that wants a second, third, or fourth home. Because to qualify for homeowner's exemption and to get that $200,000 break on your tax, you need to agree that you will live in that home and that will be your primary residence. If you want to sell your home in Aspen or in New York City and move to Maui and make this your home, fine. You want to start building up your equity, you want to start contributing to the community, great. This doesn't discriminate, but that got to be your main residence. And my plan is that has to be in perpetuity. When you sell that home, you can sell it the next day if you want. You can sell it in 5 years, in 11 years, whatever. When you sell it, it has to be sold to somebody else who qualifies for a homeowner's exemption. What I hope that does, and maybe it doesn't solve all the problems, I get it, but I hope what that does is it keeps homes for local residents. One of the things that happens on Maui is homes are being sold, 40 to 60%, I'm told, are being sold to people from out of the state over asking cash. Now, I have no issues with anybody who either has money or anybody who wants to sell their property for profit. Hey, that's fine. However, what we need to recognize is the person who is, let's say, ultra wealthy, who can buy that home for cash, does not rely on the local economy. They don't need the local economy for them to survive. The rest of us do. And I think that's dangerous if you get enough people who fall into that category, who don't rely on the local economy. And those are things that happen gradual. Just like those of us growing up here in whatever part of Hawaii recognize, so what happened to your classmates? What happened to some of your cousins? Where are they all now? How come they moved away? It's not like 100 people get up and leave your neighborhood one day and you notice. It's only when you go to the parties or the funerals or wherever you go, hey, where's so and so? Oh, he moved to the mainland. Why? Too expensive. We all hear the same thing. Everybody hears that. And part of that is this issue we're discussing: the cost of homes, who's buying the homes. And right now, I mean, I know there are lots of ideas that people are putting out there, and it's great. I have never heard the word affordable housing more on Maui than I have in the last couple of months. Must be on the election season, and so it's great. Everybody has a plan. Everybody has an idea. Do they have the political courage and will to make it happen? That remains to be seen. I did mention there were two others. I can tell you that two others
Yeah,
real quick. Sorry, I realized I spent
yeah,
a lot of time on that. That's a long-term one. And by the way, the last 2 points of that is we got to have financial literacy. So we got to help our locals increase their credit score, how to figure out their down payments. Because most people can afford the monthly, whether it's a rent or mortgage. It's that down payment that really, really gets people, right? And then the last piece of this is for the incentive for the county to put in infrastructure is you just got, if you got a 200 home subdivision, you just got 200 taxpayers, 200 property taxpayers to add to hopefully offset that. Our middle term plan for getting people into housing is repurposing old shopping centers, old shopping malls. I can remember when I used to go visit Kauai. The prosecutor's office was in another location. You guys had a shopping mall there also, like I think it was a round building nearby. And anyway, the point of it is we have a lot of those kinds of places on Maui too. And the reason for that is people are doing less brick and mortar shopping. Maybe like you guys, their packages waiting outside their door when they get home from Amazon. And so what's happening here is we have old shopping malls that have become vacant and almost abandoned in some cases. My plan is to repurpose those places. We don't need more stores. We need more housing. And what this would require is going vertical, right? Building apartment style dwellings, but have them be, my daughter, when she was living on the mainland, she was telling me, Dad, my apartment, it has a store on the bottom, like a Food Land or a Times. Perfect. As a dad of a 25-year-old, I was happy that she was safe. She just gets the elevator, go shop, go right back to her unit. Didn't have to go out into the city, Uber, walk. So I think for us, we can do that here on Maui and probably throughout the state. Is we revitalize these areas by having walk-in shops. You still got to walk to the grocery store, maybe a Starbucks, a hair salon, nail salon, dentist, things that you got to go to. And we can revitalize the bottom floors, make units above. Why is that smart? Well, where are you going to get your customers for the stores and the things? From the people who live above. Where are you going to get your employees? From the people who live above. Maybe that family that lives upstairs can get rid of one of their cars now. Maybe they don't need both cars. So maybe we help with the traffic problem. But whether it's leasehold, fee simple, or rentals, the fact of the matter is you're getting housing. Now, let me just address millennials really, really quick. We think in our age range, we think, hey, everybody wants a home. Everybody wants a yard. Everybody wants to mow their lawn. Hey, you talk to a millennial. You tell them, you want to mow your lawn? They go, why? What is one lawnmower? What is that? I mean, like these days, people, they more want, if you talk to a young person, and especially if they're just starting off, maybe they're single or they're a couple, living in a unit is a great way to start building their equity and their wealth in a smaller place. Maybe at some point in time, they move to a larger property. They can ladder up, as they say. But starting off in these units make perfect sense because most young people today, they want an area that is vibrant. That's what they want. Not large, not big. They want someplace vibrant. That's what that means. Hey, some nightlife. And now we kind of short on bowling alleys. Maybe we can put in some bowling alleys, right? Maybe we can add to the space. And what that also does, it kind of addresses the homeless issue. When you revitalize an area and there are more people there that come and go, you tend to see less of a homeless issue. And that's a whole other subject we can talk about. But this whole area of repurposing, and we have places like this, empty commercial spaces in Kihei and Lahaina, Kahului, different centers and malls, because they're kind of going under. Now, do you really think stores are going to come back? You really think that somebody's going to come and replace Sears with like another Sears or another type of store? Probably not. So, as I said, a point is simple. We need more housing than we need stores, and we got a lot of empty spaces opening up. And finally, the quickest way to address housing in the term of what people can afford to buy is ADUs, also known as alternative dwelling units, right? Alternate dwelling units. So, or Ohana units. And depending on the size of your lot, at least on Maui, and I know this is approved by all the councils throughout the state, you can put either one or two of these units. Why is that important? If you got a family and your kids are growing older and they're starting families, maybe they need a place to live. What do you have on your unit already? You have sewer, you have water. And by the way, that was the key to repurposing old shopping centers is they already have sewer, they already have water. Any developer going to go in front of the council or the commission is going to be asked that question: where's your water? How are you going to run your sewer? You already have them in these locations. And same thing if you put on an alternate dwelling unit in your homes or in your properties. You can make it so that your family, your growing family, can live in maybe in a cottage. Now the other way is if parents are getting older and they want to downsize, they can move to the smaller unit and have their adult children, live in the home. Let's say no more children. The parents can rent it out for, got to be long term, but they can rent it out for additional income because we have a rental shortage too. So it's kind of all the way around. So those are my three plans for housing, and I'm happy to answer questions that people might have about that. Sorry it took so long.
Yeah. affordable housing has been an issue for decades. And I think it all comes down to one thing, and you touched on it very well, is the cost, bringing the cost down. And so, two components I think that really interest me is, number one, finding those opportunities that you can get away with bringing the cost of these homes down, and the second part is returning the equity to the Kamaaina, getting the equity in these, whether it's leasehold, like you said, or fee simple, or even a lease to own, rent to own program, getting the equity back to the Kamaaina, the buyer or the lessee, and not to the mainland developer. That is how we allow a truly affordable housing to prevail and continue. But the current system, this is what gets me, Judge. We've heard this for decades, but no one does anything differently. They just toss more money at the old system. We just saw the legislature $1 billion into affordable housing. A lot of that was for the DHHL, and that was a great
Right.
thing.
Yep.
That was a good thing because that's the lowest hanging fruit, right? The
Yep.
Hawaiian homes, that's the lowest hanging fruit. But all the rest, they're throwing that money into the systems that haven't been working. And it's refreshing to hear new ideas that that will work. And I think that's my take on it anyway.
We'll try. I mean, the thing is, you know, there's no harm in failing. The harm is in not trying, or at least in giving up. And so, if somebody's got a better idea, great. Let's go with that idea. And I'm totally willing. I understand as a new guy in entering this realm that I don't have all the answers, but what I do have is a willingness to work and to find those answers. And I feel like I have a style of leadership that is open and collaborative, and that people will want to join the team, people will want to take part in it, people will be comfortable offering their ideas. And for me, it's easy to find people smarter than me, right? And that's the key to leadership. You surround yourself with good people, smart people, people willing to come to the table. And I feel like we got a big table, a lot of people to come.
Well, I must say, I am watching the comments and very impressive. Very impressive, impressive, Rick. One thing that you did say that touched on the fact that, whether you want to call it affordable or whatever name you want to give it, you touched on something, and that is we have to make sure that the footprint of wherever this is going to be built, right? You have the available space to do it. That's the bottom line. I see plans of doing conversions, this and that. Well, number one, if you're not the property owner, I don't care how much you like try to convert, unless you go condemn the property and take them by force, it ain't going to happen. So
Right?
we're barking up the wrong tree. We got to look for something that, if it goes into the future, that whatever they decide to do, we have to make sure that there's legislation that says, hey, you can only do this, right? And
Sure. Zoning.
that's how you really going to tell the true investor whether or not they were investing to, if they say that we want to help the people, if they're truly investing to help the people. But if you put those restrictions, they know that the dollar ratio of payout and returns not going to be dollar, going to be much
Mm.
less. And whether or not they're going to pull out at that time, then that's the real way you're going to tell who's for real and who's not. So I think your plan, this is just my read on it, is, I have to say it's sound, but it's very bold. And as a Kanaka, and being from this Aina, sometimes we just got to take the chance. And one thing that I learned early on is we all got to learn to live within our means. Some Sometimes, you know, yeah, I like travel like many others, but do I have the liquidity right now to do it? Answer is no. So you work, right? But sometimes people, they travel on borrowed time. They travel on borrowed money. Next thing you know, that thing keeps on heading up. So I think what you're talking about tonight is a fresh of breath, a breath of fresh air. I'm getting tongue tied because I'm excited. We haven't had someone on in a long time that can really relate. And what he said, Mel, is he's really addressing. the local people. It says like, hey, if we want to do something, we got to do something, and if you're along for it, fine. Because one thing, ladies and gentlemen, I can say about Rick, and this is something not to get off the track, but we had an instance where when he was a prosecutor, and I was going after a felony on this a pretty good, a pretty damn good football player, and he just made a little mistake. Ricky came up to me and says, "Hey, to retain this person's NCAA status, can I ask you?" And it's up to you. You don't have to, but can I ask you? Would you be willing to reduce the charges? Because he left that option open. And I think that's a trait of someone who will be a really good mayor is to work with the other side and ask first, not demand. He asked, "Would you be able to please help? Because we believe this person's life can turn around if you would just reduce your charges to something lesser so he can keep that status." And I said, "Okay, under one condition, the person give of their time to educate young ones not to follow in his footsteps." And the guy, he did everything we asked of him. But it all started with prosecuting attorney Rick Bissen making that call before we went to trial. And he said, "Hey," and I was all for it. I said, "Hey, sounds good to me." And so I can say, even though I'm here on Kauai, I can say this gentleman, what he says goes. I mean, you ain't gonna find any. I mean, it sounds like an endorsement, but well, yeah, because I'm your good friend, I'm gonna endorse you, Rick, because he's done it before. It's proven, and that's what I'm saying to a lot of the people out there, and that is, you listen, and I'm not saying that all of you are gonna be believers, but I'm pretty damn sure a lot of you are gonna be believers, a lot of
Mahalo, mahalo, Charlie.
Judge, I know you mentioned homelessness. I know that's a problem throughout the state. Drugs are another big problem throughout the state.
Yeah,
There's just that the legislature just passed a reform bill. If we have time, I'd love to hear your take on that. But I kind of want to focus on the issues that are affecting Maui right now, and I think homelessness is one of them, drugs
sure,
and crime. What are just have a campfire chat about
sure.
what your priorities are and how you plan on fixing those.
Sure, that's a great question. You know, when we say the word homeless, I'm just wondering what picture that evokes in your mind. Anybody watching, obviously Mel or Charlie, because I'm sure everybody has a different picture in their mind. Might be the guy pushing the shopping cart, might be the person under the blue tarp, with their tarp tied to a fence on one side and their shopping cart on the other side, or somebody howling at the moon. But I gotta say, some years ago, I was with a good friend of mine who was returning or had some extra food from a party, and he said to me he was gonna go take it to the homeless, and it was at Kanaha Beach Park here in Kahului near the airport. And so it was about 10:30 at night. I said, "Okay, I'll go with you." Obviously, I didn't want him to go alone, and it seemed like he had done this before. I'd never done this at that time of night. And we got outside the gate. Those of us on Maui familiar, we're outside the gate on the gravel part, and he put the food on the trunk of his car. And people came from all over the place, from the beach, from the bushes, to come. Maybe, I mean, like feral cats, if you would, if you picture that scene. And but there was one couple in a red pickup truck, and they looked like kupuna. Um, Never came out of the truck. They sat in their truck, and they were parked under the light, facing the road, facing out, as if they needed to, they could leave quickly. They weren't facing away from the light, where you would think sleeping at night you would do that. And so I started thinking, just watching them, why aren't they coming out? They were close. They could have walked out, take a few steps. They would have been right there. Never came out. Stayed huddled. And so we were leaving. That thought stayed in my mind. I thought, wow, these guys must be kind of like their first time over here. They must be afraid of something. And that became for me the new face of homeless. Now, I was a mental health court judge for 8 or 9 years, so I understand when we talk about homeless, we have several categories. We have people that are, that face mental challenges, mental illness, people who face substance abuse, people who have both. You guys both policemen, I don't have to tell you. People with dual diagnosis, and you know them right away, you recognize them. And then you have a very, very small group of people who might choose that lifestyle. Very small. I would not say that's a very large group. And then you get the group of working homeless. And what I say about that group is maybe there was a divorce, maybe there was a death, maybe somebody lost a job, somebody just caught a bad break. And you know, in Hawaii, as close as we are, as tight as we are, people they get pride, they shame. They're not going to ask right away. They might eventually, but they're going to try to gut it out. So when I looked at this couple, I thought to myself, they must drive to work every day in their car and go somewhere and then come here in the evening to try to be. And they weren't parked inside the park where they could have been locked in the gate. They stayed outside for some reason. So right next to the airport, we have our old parking, rental car lots. We now have a new Conrack, right? The new facility that they made for rental cars in Kahului, and so some of the some of the rental car lots are now vacant. Now, what is a rental car lot? It's like a drive-in movie theater, right? Plenty of parking and a really small footprint of an admin building. So I thought to myself, what if we did this? Thinking of this couple now. What if we hired a couple of people from the county? Now, of course, we would have to deal with the Department of Transportation, Airports Division. Gotta see, hey, can we do a land swap? Can we do a lease? Can we do something? But what if we made use of that facility, letting people drive in the evening, give them stalls, but spread them apart. But more importantly, in that admin building, we not only have bathrooms, we install showers, we put in a washer and a dryer, we put in a place to plug in electrical devices, no stoves, no kitchens, no open flames, and we let people who've had a day of work come out, have a safe place to sleep at night, have a place to not only wash themselves but their clothes. Because when somebody takes a shower and wash their clothes, what you're restoring is their dignity. You're not like cleaning their clothes. What you're doing is you're giving them back their dignity. And then, you can also bring in counselors. You can bring in people who work with this population. You can tell them, hey, can we schedule a dentist appointment for you? You need to go get any benefits. You need to get renew your driver's license. Anything you need to do with your car. Can we look at your housing options? Maybe you're just a step away. Maybe you're next on the waiting list. I mean, we would literally have a captive audience. And I'm just going to say this every night, right now, this time of night, there are a bunch of cars parked with people sleeping in those cars that went to work today. They're going to go work tomorrow. So they're already here. They're there someplace. I say put them in one place where we can try to give them services. We can try, reach out to them and give them one. If nothing else, give them one safe place to put their head at night. No need to worry. No one tweak us. Hey, look, if you get on shopping cart, you're not coming in. If you're on foot, you're not coming in. This is only for people with operable cars because that tells us that category of people. Hey, these guys' cars operate. They at least do something during the day. Every morning, at a certain time, you gotta leave. You gotta go out, do your stuff. In the evening, you come back because we got the space. We got the parking areas. It's kind of my whole theory of repurposing you guys. We already have this place. What else are we gonna do with them? I hope we're not gonna just leave it that way, like our malls. So that's my idea. And by the way, our housing um, policy on Maui is housing first, right? It's a HUD sponsored sort of program where we get our HUD monies from, and the idea is not to accommodate people on the street, but to get them off the streets and in the homes. Of course, that's the policy, and I would definitely support that too.
Awesome. Yeah. The and I'm sure Maui is suffering the same problems we have with HUD. The HUD vouchers are simply not sufficient,
Yeah.
and they're expiring because the rental market is so high right now. You got a
Yeah.
lot of people coming here and spending a lot of money on rent. So the HUD vouchers are really not being able to be used and expiring, which is really a shame.
Yeah.
I love the idea. I think that is the idea that getting these people in one place that they are safe, number one, and you provide those necessary services. It's a great opportunity. Great
Just an
opportunity.
idea, and like I said, open to plenty idea. I know there are plenty of people working this area of homelessness, and I'm sure if they're on this call, they will let that be known. So I don't claim to have all the ideas, but I was thinking about it, and maybe if I never had that experience that evening, I probably would look at it very differently. But I kept thinking to myself, wow, poor thing, this couple. Too bad they're in one place to put their head down because they look like they were sleeping with one eye open, or maybe one guy sleep, one guy stay up, and they take turns. I'm thinking, I can't imagine what that's like. None of us think that way. Those of us with homes that sleep at night, none of us think, wow, you know, yeah, I can't imagine what that was like.
How's I sorry, I get this little pause because I'm waiting for Charlie to jump in, and I don't know if there's a delay. If Charlie is like, but yeah, I don't like take all the time, but I think make sure Charlie got an opportunity to.
Well, I think, with ideas like this, it's to me, I think, well, I have a place in my heart for Maui because I served on the police department. My children are still there, and so I got to look at what's going to happen in the future, and it all starts with leadership. You need good leaders, and I know some of you out there might be thinking, "Oh, Uncle Charlie, this is so no." That's the reason why we brought Judge Bissen on tonight because he is running for mayor for the county of Maui, and we and when I say we, I'm pretty sure I know my sons and my grandchildren feel the same way, and that is they worry about their future. What's going to happen? We faced the pandemic was one rough time, but there's many more ahead. But we need someone that uh, is not afraid to tackle it, and I think you know I'll give the present mayor some credit, but some things have been amiss or have gone awry over the last couple of years prior to the pandemic. So, you know, uh, what I'm saying is that I think it's time for a change, and I honestly believe that, and I'm pretty sure the people of Maui believes the same way too. But for those on Maui who are listening, I don't want you to, you know, have to call down to anything because maybe the name is synonymous with sports or anything like that. Just go with what you feel. Just go with what you've heard tonight, and I'll challenge you. Anytime this man has something coming up, if I was on Maui, I'd be attending all those rallies. Just so, one thing I would do is I would start comparing. He said this at one meeting. I want to see if it's going to change, because that's how you can tell the credibility of someone. If they stay on point every single time, and no matter how hot the fire gets, they don't change. They stay on point. That tells you a lot right there. That character, right at that split moment in time, will tell you how much this person cares about the people of Maui. So, if you look at it, and we had this discussion before, right? Right? People ask you, hey, are you this or are you that? He gonna come out and he gonna tell you, no,
Oh, I'm
I'm
happy to
from
share
Maui.
that too.
Yeah,
Yeah, there are people that choose to, say things without really having all the information. But I'll just be real clear tonight, and as I have been, I have voted every year since I was 18 years old. I understand, I'm a political science major. I understand how important that is to exercise that right. But I have never registered for a political party. Not the Democratic Party, not the Republican Party, not anybody's party. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm not running against anyone. I'm running for the people of Maui. I'm running for something, not against something. And I mean, it's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. I never had to decide. I'm running in a nonpartisan race, and I never had the need. But I'm also not joining any other organizations or groups either, just to try to pad my resume. I have what I have. I am what I am. The groups I belong to, most of them for many, many, many years, with no thought of how it would look on running for an office. Um, and so I'd like to sort of put that rumor to rest that people somehow associate me with one side or another. And I have broad support from the community, all sectors, all political affiliations, as I think it should be. I mean, because the ideas, right? We all know you don't all learning is not just from one halau. We know that proverb, so nobody has a corner on the market of good ideas or good people. I mean, they come from all walks of life and from all areas, and so I mean that's how I see it. Um, and so yeah, I don't belong to any political parties.
I love that answer, man. I love that answer. I mean, being a judge for so long, you got to be impartial. You gotta listen to both sides and make your ruling. And I think that fares really well. Unfortunately, politics, especially recently, it's ugly. It's ugly, man.
It's a contact sport, that's for sure. It's not
Yeah.
for
It never used to be. I became. You remember when Democrats and Republicans would actually work together
I
and
do.
collaborate and actually. And now it's ridiculous. It's just
Mm.
disgusting. And I love the nonpartisan structure. I really think that's beneficial to the people. And it's not the parties that are messed up. It's the people that in and run the parties that are messed up on both sides. And they need to grow up. They need to really grow up and start remembering why they originally ran for public office was to help people and not help themselves. So, and I ain't afraid to say that. Mayor, Mayor, sorry, Judge. Um, I know we said 1 hour. I just wanted to, all the years I served on the Kauai County Council, Maui always were the leader in various administrations of providing social services, which typically fall under the obligation of the state. But Maui has done a great job using county funds to support the social needs of the communities, which we were very envious because we wanted to, but we just didn't have the money. Maui seems to, I think Maui is probably the richest county, generating a lot of revenue. Is that something that you see the county continuing with in your if there is a need, social services need, like you talked about your plan at the parking lots, uh, the county pitching in and helping provide those services for our, I like to call them houseless because
Yeah,
they don't have a house. They
that's right.
unfortunately, but they have jobs. They're responsible. They're doing what they need to do. But is that something that you would consider?
Yes. Yes, Mel. Great question. You know, Regardless of where the funds come from, the people that benefit are our people. I used to say this all the time when I worked as a prosecutor and a judge for so many years. I would always say, the people that make up our prisons and our community correctional centers are our own people. These are our brothers, our cousins, our neighbors, our fathers, our mothers. They don't come from someplace else. And while there are some exceptions of people that come from other places, the majority of the people we're taking care of in whatever nonprofit that is our own people. So again, we cannot lose sight of that fact, who we're helping, whether it's Molokai, Lanai, or Maui. I I think what's so important about helping out our community is the ability to leverage our money and our resources. If the county had to take on the work that the nonprofits do, we'd never be able to afford it. However rich we think we would be, we could not afford it. So that public private partnership is really what's happening in all of these instances where we give out grants. I mean, to people that are deserving. You can tell a lot about a person by where they spend their time. And if a person spends their time in front of a video game, or if they like being at the bars or whatever, you can tell yourself, well, that's what they think is important. If they like being with their family, they attend their kids' school programs, then well, that's important. Similarly, for counties or government, where you spend your money tells people what you think is important, right? That's how you prioritize. That's how you show what your priorities are. So I think putting money into social services for people who are needy, right? What is the saying? To those who much is given, much is expected. If you're doing good, and you have very generous people on Maui, our individuals, our businesses, not just taxes that we get from the government, but people who donate to these organizations, because we understand there's a need. We're leveraging our resources so that the dollars go further. We're not hiring employees and people to do these functions that would otherwise fall on the county. So again, whether they're federal, state, or county dollars, I think it's just smart business and good government to leverage those dollars into these programs that are helping our people in our county.
You said it best, my friend. Um, the nonprofit, the local nonprofits, uh, likewise here in Kauai, provide the services that the county could never do, or the state for that matter.
Yep.
I wish one day we, at some point, that the county and state functions merge. Like highways and roadways. We got a state crew working on one road, and on the adjacent road you got a county crew because one is a state highway, one is a county. What a waste of, that's not even in our lifetime. But with social services, the counties are not good at providing social services. That's not what counties do, right? Or states. They do government work. They fix roads, they fix infrastructure,
Right.
they get parks. But there are so many of our local nonprofits that are hanging on by a thread, providing those needed services, and that's the partnership I think uh, all of the islands, all of the counties need to really participate in, and working with these nonprofits, funding these nonprofits so they can get those jobs done and take care of our people. Plain and simple. Yeah, the bottom line is taking care of our people, our
That's right.
our local people, and
Mel, can I mention something since you brought up the roads? Um,
absolutely.
that's one thing that I learned as my time at the Attorney General's office. I never saw this from the county's perspective, but I did when I worked at the state level. Roads are such a big issue when it comes to liability. And that's the one asset that either government or either side of the government will want to give to the other. I mean, a state will be happy to give the county the roads. The county would be happy to give their roads to the state. And, I never quite looked at it this way until I started seeing all the lawsuits that came against the state. So, what you understand is while that may be an asset, it's actually a liability as well. And so often, county government, and that's why people with private roads, the counties don't want to adopt them because now you got to maintain them. If something happens on them, you're the one who gets sued. And so a lot of private people on private roads, they put their gates was they want to only limit it to maybe their guests. Um, so it's just interesting. That is an interesting area, and I think there are other areas of government that this might relate to as well. So what I say to people is, watch the shiny objects. Don't accept the shiny objects just because they look flashy. Understand what you're getting if we're talking about roads, and that's probably why those state and county guys are not going to work together on one, because if something happens to that road, the state guy going to say, "Oh, the county guy did that part. That's why you guys got to go sue the county." Um, it's a very interesting phenomenon, the issue of road ownership, and I'm pretty aware of that, having learned that in my time at the state. Interesting that you said that.
Yeah, it just we got to find a way to be more efficient
Yeah.
government wide. I mean, we just you look at the balance sheet, the budgets of county government versus a private operation. It's in the military, they call it fraud, waste, and abuse. The military is very good in a lot of time, a lot of cases in identifying areas that can get better. And the state and county, it just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing and growing, and it just doesn't ever stop. So
Well, we have a $1.2 billion budget here on
I
Maui.
I
How you guys
saw
doing?
I saw that. I'm thinking, holy crap, that's a lot of money, man. That's a
Like a
lot of money.
25% increase from the last one. It's quite a bit.
Yeah,
Yeah. See
yeah.
what it's going towards. Again, that will tell us what our priorities are, right?
I'll just say this: it's never a funding issue. It's always a priority issue. That's my take on politics. It's never a funding issue because if they want to get something, they'll get the money. If it's not being done, it's not because there is no money. It's because it's not a priority. That's the reality of local government. That is, and that's just the way it is. And that's what I've seen anyway. So
Great tip. I'll remember that.
yeah, it's a priority, right? It's like you have a leaky roof, but you see the shiny object that you talked about, right? And so, even if somebody offered you hey Mel, I like build you one swimming pool. I really like you. Your wife makes good pastries. I want to build you a swimming pool, and I'm gonna say, well, oh shoot. So I get the swimming pool. My roof is leaking. Then I find out that that swimming pool has a maintenance cost that I got to pay every month to clean and service and maintain. And all of a sudden, the roof doesn't get fixed because all the money that I was supposed to pay for the roof is now being used for a swimming pool, which I got for free.
Well, if you can make the leak right over the pool, then you can get water in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
pool
yeah,
full
yeah.
time.
Maybe
So
we do
not
an
too bad.
indoor pool. We do an indoor pool right on the. Hey, Charlie, get any other questions for our esteemed guest before I wanna give him an opportunity to share whatever he wants to share with our viewers.
No,
All right,
no.
Judge, Your Honor, you
Well,
have the floor, my friend.
I am so very grateful and honored to be your guest tonight, and thank you for such your hospitality, both of you. I feel very encouraged by our discussion tonight. As I said from the beginning, I'm just a simple Maui boy. I'm not a politician. I do not owe anyone anything. This job, like I said, my future is not dependent on it. But I feel very strongly that my children, my grandchildren, theirs, and everyone else's does depend on who's our next leader. And I think it's really all about leadership. I think that's the starting point, and that's what I offer. I pledge to lead our county with intelligence, with integrity, and with inclusivity. And I'd be honored to earn your trust. So I just want to say mahalo, mahalo to those who took the time to observe and perhaps participate. I was not able to see any of the chat that might have been going on. So at some point, maybe I'll get to see some of that and get some of the feedback. So just mahalo, mahalo. Thank you so much.
Judge, real quick, website. You have a
Richard,
website?
yeah, bissenmovement.com. Bissenmovement.com is our website, and we have a Facebook, a Twitter. Don't ask me all that. A few months ago, I didn't even know what those were. I didn't know the difference between a post and a hit and all that. Now I thought those were football terms. Now I know what they mean. So I'm getting a little bit more familiar with the social
Does that
media side.
does that look right on the screen? Bissenmovement.com.
Yes, yes, it does. Sorry, thank you. Yeah, I see it there.
All right. And then you guys can all go and get your go to his website. You can get all the information. I'm sure there's contact information if you got
Yes, there
questions.
is. Yes, there is.
All
We're
right.
very engaging. We're very engaging with our site.
All right. Charles.
Well. What can I say? I am very. Whew, this is like homecoming. Two emotional things in one day. But I am very proud of this gentleman right here who I've known for years. You know, he can speak for himself, but what you've heard is what you get. And I am truly honored to have him as my friend. I hope all of you out there, believe in what he says. But like I said, you be the judge. The next time he's up talking in your neck of the woods, go attend the meeting. See if he changes his platform in any way, shape, or form. Or see if he says something that's contradictory to what he said the last time. And then, just go straight up to him and just ask him straight, hey, what did you mean by this or that? But you have that, he'll give you that opportunity. And with that said, I also want, before I turn it over to you, Brother Mel, don't forget, I want to thank the sponsors, my sponsors, Snickers. Snickers. Here you go, Mel. It's right here. Snickers. I want to say thank you. Thank you very much. Back to you, Brother Mel.
You know, if you get elected, Judge, the first thing you do is ban Snickers on Kauai. I know your jurisdiction is not here, but do it anyway. Ban Snickers is a healthy issue. It's a health issue. Hey, Judge, thanks for joining us tonight. I'm seeing the comments, a lot of positive comments, a lot of questions that we couldn't get to, but feel free to go to bissenmovement.com. I just want to remind you guys tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock, Barboza run for Special Olympics. I'll be walking. Please come walk with me. Vidina Stadium, 7 o'clock registration. 10 o'clock, Kaikahele press conference. And then let's root on the Rainbows volleyball team tomorrow for the national championships, and the Waimea High School men's baseball team from Kauai for the Hawaii State High School championships tomorrow as well. I just want to make this disclaimer or disclosure that we've said all along, anyone interested, any political candidate interested in coming on, you're welcome to do so. We'll give you the platform. Uh, I want to say that not too many people come forward. That's their choice. This is free. It's an opportunity, and our village is a very engaging community that they talk after the show. They share. This thing will go across this. Right now, we're live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And in fact, after most of all the political people, all the legislators, the governor, lieutenant governor, they all watch the show after we go off the air because they don't like see their names pop up in the chat. So you'll see tomorrow morning there'll be 400, 500, or 600 views on this thing, and then it just grows from there. So any of you candidates out there, except one, and you know who you are, but I'm not going to mention names. You guys all welcome to come on and share your platforms. Judge, we wish you all the best. Thank you for your open, candid, positive attitude, and I wish only the best for you, my friend. Take care.
Thank you. Mahalo. Please take care of you guys selves. All right. God bless.